We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour, a major milestone with the Agnibaan SoRTed-01 mission launched. First ever controlled flight of a semi-cryogenic liquid engine realized through additive manufacturing. The Indian election campaign reaches its last lap. 57 seats, including Varanasi, the seat of India's Prime Minister Modi, go to polls on the 1st of June. British Parliament dissolved as 5-week campaign period begins leading up to the general election on the 4th of July. No respite from heat wave as North India, including capital Delhi, sizzles with record mercury levels. Praggnanandhaa beats world number 1 Magnus Carlsen for the first time in classical chess. With that third round win, Pragg takes the sole lead with 5.5 by 9 points at Norway Chess Tournament. Well, Agnibaan Cosmos has launched Agnibaan SoRTed-01 mission from their launch pad on Thursday. And there's a tweet: congratulations at Agnibaan Cosmos for the successful launch of the Agnibaan SoRTed-01 mission from their launch pad, a major milestone as the first ever controlled flight of a semi-cryogenic liquid engine realized through additive manufacturing. And India has made a quantum jump in the field of space in the last 9 years, and efforts have been made to further diversify the applications of space with the launch of InSpace. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports for more.
India's space sector has been making significant strides, positioning itself as a formidable player in the global space economy. In 2020, India's central government established InSpace, marking a pivotal moment by allowing commercial companies to enter the space sector. This move catalyzed unprecedented growth, with over 150 space tech startups raising more than $285 million in capital between 2014 and 2023.
Indian space sector में पिछले कुछ सालों से बहुत अच्छा एक ग्रोथ देखने को आया है। अभी हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने भी 2023 में नई स्पेस पॉलिसी लेकर के आए हैं, जिससे जो प्राइवेट स्पेस रिलेटेड कंपनीज हैं उनको बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिल रही हैं, अलग अलग सेक्टर्स में काम करने का अवसर मिल रहा है। कई सारे जो फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट हैं जो स्पेस सेक्टर में आ रहे हैं, जैसे अभी गूगल ने इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है अराउंड $36 मिलियन का, ये पिक्सल कंपनी में सैटेलाइट इमेज स्टार्टअप है।
The Indian space sector was valued at $9.6 billion in 2020, contributing to 2 to 3% of the global space economy. By 2025, this sector is expected to grow to $13 billion. Looking further ahead, India aims to capture a substantial 10% share of the global space economy by 2030. In 2024, India declared plans to relax foreign direct investment regulations, permitting 100% foreign investment in component manufacturing.
The historic decision paves the way for unprecedented growth and innovation, and will ultimately foster a new era of space exploration and commercialization in India. As a full-stack space engineering company, Dhruva Space is poised to leverage these opportunities to make significant contributions to the world space community and achieve remarkable milestones through collaboration, innovation, and capacity building.
The Indian startup ecosystem in the space sector is thriving. From just one startup in 2012, the industry has grown to 189 startups by 2023. These startups received a total funding of $124.7 million in 2023, a notable increase from $67.2 million in 2021. India has signed space cooperation agreement with 61 countries and 5 multilateral bodies, reflecting its commitment to international collaboration. With these robust policies and investment, India is not just participating but is set to lead the charge in the global space sector. As India continues to push the boundaries of innovation and collaboration, the sky is no longer the limit. The Indian space sector is poised to make a massive gain in the years to come. With camera person Shubham, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
All right, and Ritesh Ranjan joins us from Chennai on the phone line for this. Well, Ritesh, a historic moment for India's space sector as the first ever controlled flight of a semi-cryogenic liquid engine realized through additive manufacturing. Can you tell us more on this?
Well, indeed, it is a proud moment for all the Indians that we have, succeeded this. And it was when last Tuesday, when the launch was supposed to take place. But just before that, Monday night, I spoke with Srinath and Moin, who are the co-founders of this Agnibaan company. So they were saying that, we are learning from, every time we fail to launch. Failure is, it is proving that failure is a step towards success. So that is what they have proved. And this is, in the last couple of months, we have seen major, activities in space research field. So we are seeing that, that this milestone will give us a more, will strengthen us more in space and science research field. And especially when after the launch of this site, this is a test launch. I just want to tell again that, this is a test launch.
Yeah.
A test launch rocket, where after this there are many more things. They said that we are in a plan. So we can see many more things in coming days. Following days that there could be many things. And in space research science, they were Srinath was actually mentioning that sitting here, having a control over the satellite, we can do many research in space. With the help of the satellites. So that is what these guys are planning, and after this successful launch, there are many more, commercial space research company will come up, and India and other countries are also eyeing on it.
All right. Also, as you told us, after last 4 failed attempts, start setup finally became successful. Huge win for India. The mission, which lasted approximately 2 minutes, I think, marked a major achievement for the company and the country in the development of indigenous space technology. So how do we benefit from there?
See, this is first thing. This is a test launch of a rocket. After this, we'll start sending, and in the Earth's lower orbit, we'll start sending satellites, which would be actually working for, catering the needs of private companies, their research and all. So these are the space. These are the field we can actually explore many things, and there are space research companies from India and abroad,
right.
And there are other technological companies which are which are actually willing to do some research in the field of space science. So this can actually help. What we can do, and let me tell you one thing that we face this network problem many times. Like last time when I was there in Sriharikota, in the control panel room, we were not having any network. We were not able to connect to our team members.
Right.
So we have to come out. So all these kind of problems can be sorted out if such a thing is coming up. So that is what Moin and Srinath was talking last time.
All right.
And after by this we will have navigation, climate change, and internet issues we can be sorted out.
Yes, huge opportunities there. Thank you so much, Ritesh, for joining us and letting us know all that information. And moving on, in an exclusive interview to Open Magazine, India's PM Narendra Modi articulated his perspectives on matters of policy, politics and people's welfare. In the interview, the PM articulated that over the past decade, his government's decision, proactive approach and future-ready form of governance have played instrumental roles in harnessing the true potential of the Indian economy. On Viksit Bharat, or a vision for developed India, PM Modi emphasized that his government's vision for a Viksit Bharat isn't inward-looking. Rather, it entails fostering greater collaborations, forging stronger partnerships and driving global growth. On poverty alleviation, PM Modi stated that in the last 10 years, his government successfully pulled 25 million people out of poverty. PM Modi also criticized the opposition's Congress party, asserting that the party, which has governed the nation for several decades, lacks a genuine ideology beyond family first. PM Modi also talked about the roadmap for the future and said it will encompass a 4E approach. 4E includes education, entrepreneurship, employment and emerging sectors. PM Modi hailed the Mudra Yojana and Startup India, stating that these schemes have set a strong platform for India's youth. And now let's get you the latest on the world's largest election in India. Well, as Punjab prepares to go to polls on Saturday, campaigning has reached a feverish pitch with both local and national leaders making a beeline in a last-ditch attempt to woo the voters. Campaigning comes to close this evening. Amritpal Singh reports for more.
States, 2 former union ministers, Sufi singers, a former chief minister, sitting cabinet ministers of Punjab, are some of the Lok Sabha candidates sweating it out in Punjab. In an election bereft of a clear way for any political party, it's a four-cornered contest in Punjab between the Congress, the Aam Aadmi Party, the Akali Dal and the BJP. While the BJP is showcasing its development track record of 10 years under the Narendra Modi government at the centre, the Aam Aadmi Party is listing out the achievements of the Bhagwant Mann government in the state.
Farmers are very happy. 80 to 90% people, they have zero electricity bill. People are very happy, these two things. And then the Mohalla clinics. The schools are improving. We are removing these toll plazas.
But for the people, the issues that matter are agrarian distress, spiraling drug menace, spurt in crime and lack of employment opportunities. Issues of the farmer are what matter most. We want a government that resolves the issues of the farmers.
सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये है सर, एक तो नशा बहुत है, उसके लिए आवाज़ उठानी चाहिए सरकार को, और दूसरी बात ये है कि क्राइम बहुत है.
The border state has 13 Lok Sabha seats that go to polls in a single phase on Saturday.
With hours left for the campaign frenzy to calm down and the noise to subside, the people of Punjab will now have a brief window to make up their mind on whom to vote for. But what makes this election particularly unpredictable and intriguing is the multi-cornered fight this time around in Punjab. With cameraman Manmohan Singh, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Patiala.
All right, as the general elections of 2024 reaches its culmination point, West Bengal's capital city is witnessing a fierce political fight between the TMC and the BJP. Today, we look at a constituency that is steeped in history and tradition, and it stands at the intersection of politics, heritage and the pulse of the people. Let us take a look at this special report by our correspondent, Dibyendu Mondal.
This is the city of joy. Welcome to the cultural capital of India, to the city of Kolkata, a living museum. Set on the banks of the river Ganges, North Kolkata, which once was the seat of power during the British Raj, still echoes with the footsteps of history. Its narrow lanes and the majestic colonial architecture stand as a testament to Kolkata's rich past. But amidst the old world charm, North Kolkata finds itself at the heart of contemporary politics. The elections here have infused the streets with political flavor, flags and wall paintings dotting the small lanes and bylanes of the city.
Less corruption actually, because Bengal is suffering for lots of corruption right now. So we need a government which is good governance, good law, and a government which is less corrupted.
I would like to have more opportunities in West Bengal, and as for women, I would say that apart from the Chief Minister herself, there isn't really any prominent women leaders currently. So there should be more women leaders.
North Kolkata remains a melting pot of cultures and a political battleground. This constituency has traditionally been a stronghold of the Trinamool Congress. But in the recent past, it has witnessed a strong challenge from the Bharatiya Janata Party. In the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, TMC Sudeep Bandopadhyay retained his seat, but with a significantly reduced margin. The CPM, however, once a dominant force, is now struggling to regain its footing. Beyond politics, North Kolkata's relevance continue in its daily life. College Street, often referred to as Boipara, remains Asia's largest book market. The region's historic building to the lavish colonial bungalows gives a glimpse into history. North Kolkata is a living museum. As the election nears, North Kolkata stands at a crossroads, balancing its illustrious past with the promise of the future. The outcome will determine evolving political landscape of West Bengal.
It will be the people that will decide the fate of the candidates contesting this elections of 2024. With camperson PK, this is Dibyendu Mondal from Kolkata for DD India.
And for more on elections, Dibyendu Mondal joins us from Kolkata and Salman Haidar joins us from Patna. Well, good morning to both of you. Dibyendu, 9 crucial constituencies goes to the polls in this last and final phase, and today is the last day of campaigning. What all is planned for the day, and how do you see the mood of the people, especially the youth?
Well, Lipakshi, good morning. That's right. 9 crucial seats of West Bengal is going to polls in this particular phase of election. All the seats are absolutely important for both the BJP as well as Trinamool Congress. Of course, because of the fact that the BJP does not have a single seat out of these 9 seats, and the party wants to make a dent into this bastion of the Trinamool Congress, where these 9 seats are, all of them are with the Trinamool Congress currently. We saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as BJP's National President JP Nadda campaigning in Kolkata and the other significant seats that are going to polls in this particular phase, giving us a glimpse of the fact that how important the BJP considers these 9 crucial seats that are going to polls, and wanting to get at least 2 out of these 9 seats, or increase its vote share and vote margin in these, in fact, in all the seats. That's why the Prime Minister was here to campaign for over a day and a half. Of course, and why it is important is also because of the fact that, the BJP, this is the metropolitan part of the city, in fact, of the state of West Bengal. And as we showed you through our reports, that, how important culturally this part of Bengal is, which is both the North and the South Kolkata constituencies. So first, the BJP trying to make a dent, whereas the Trinamool Congress is trying to defend its turf in these particular regions. Also, for the BJP, it is significantly important to make a dent into the Trinamool Congress's vote share in the Bashirhat constituency. Remember, because the fact that the Sandesh Khali incident, which happened and which rocked the nation, is also part of the Bashirhat constituency. So the BJP is trying to make a dent into that stronghold of the Trinamool Congress here. And of course, your second question of what the youth of the state wants is, of course, employment, because for a very, very long time, the 34 years of the CPM rule in Bengal, as well as the a decade and a half rule of the Trinamool Congress, there have not been much industrialization or much of the service sector coming into West Bengal. Therefore, lack of jobs is driving the youth out of the state of West Bengal. I've been speaking to a lot of youths. I was in College Street yesterday, which is the hub of the educational centers of Bengal, where the Calcutta University, the Presidency College, both of which are located there. So, most of the youths have told me that what they want is perhaps to either get out of Bengal or to bring in industries. There is no other option for them. Which is why, and of course, people don't forget to talk about corruption. The alleged teachers recruitment scam that rocked the West Bengal government and put the Mamata government in Bengal at a back foot. So of course, these are cutting ice amongst the youth voters, because they are aspirational. They want to they want to get a secure job. They want to get a better job and a better life. And non-industrialization and corruption, as I said, are also significantly becoming an important issue in this, of course, throughout the election, but also in this particular phase of elections as well. Back to you.
All right. My second question to you, Salman. The Democratic Carnival continues to unfold in Bihar also. 3 states where elections were held in all 7 phases. Bihar is one of them. Intense political competition. 8 seats up for grabs in this phase. How are the parties enticing the voters as today is the last day of campaigning?
First of all, Lipakshi, the intense heat is there, and for past 2 days, people are remaining indoors if nothing is more important to go out. But the election is going on, and election heat is also very intense. There are, as you say, there are 8 seats where urban areas dominate. The important seats are Patna Sahib and Patliputra in Patna urban area. So you see, there is very tough competition. In Patna Sahib, former Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad is from BJP, who is in contest with Anshul Abhijit of Congress. And in Ara also, the Union Power Minister R.K. Singh is there to fight against his RJD rival. And in Karakat also, the fight is tough with Upendra Kushwaha, and NDA Ali is fighting tri-corner fight with having Pawan Singh, who is Bhojpuri power star and singer, and a rebel candidate from BJP. So on almost all on all the 8 seats,
right.
The fight is 2-cornered or triangular. So it remains to be seen
right.
the percentage of voting. It goes low or higher than the previous phases because heat is very intense.
Right. Right.
Yes, Lipakshi.
Right. Thank you so much, both of you, for all the details from there. And moving on, 14 Hong Kong democracy leaders convicted as biggest national security trial concludes 1,240 days after their arrest. And for more, we have Laura Westbrook joining us from Hong Kong. Well, Laura, more than a dozen of Hong Kong's leading democracy figures were found guilty on subversion charges. The trial of Hong Kong 47 in the largest and most significant verdicts handed down to date. What more can you tell us about this?
Yes, that's right. 3 High Court justices have handed down their verdicts in this landmark national security trial this morning. Out of the 16 who maintained their innocence on conspiracy of charges to commit subversion, only 2 were acquitted. Out of the 14 who were found guilty, they include former lawmakers, district councillors, as well as activists like Gwyneth Ho. And this comes more than 3 years after they were arrested and charged under these very serious charges under the Beijing imposed national security law on conspiracy to commit subversion. This centers around an unofficial primary that took place in 2020 ahead of an election in September of that same year. Prosecutors allege that they sought to paralyze the city's government and force then leader Carrie Lam to resign, in their way to block government block government budgets. In their ruling, the 3 High Court justices said that this scheme by these Hong Kong activists would have paralyzed the government and said that it would have inevitably created political instability in the city.
All right. Also, Laura, what happens next now? What is the reaction from various sectors, especially the Human Rights Watch group?
Yes, so what happens next is we will wait for sentencing, and that is going to take place at a later date. Out of the 31 who pled guilty, they include some of the most famous faces in Hong Kong, like Joshua Wong, the law professor Benny Tai, as well as Claudia Mo. And this morning we have seen observers from the UK, the United States, Australia and Britain who've been watching the trial this morning. So we will wait to hear for any a reaction from them. But we have heard from Human Rights Watch, who's called this ruling, says that it shows contempt for both the democratic political processes and the rule of law. Critics have called this 2020 in Beijing imposed national security law, have called it, saying that it has been used to stifle dissent and political opposition, but the government has said that it has restored stability in the wake of the 2019 anti-government protests.
All right, Laura, thank you so much for that update from Hong Kong. And moving on, North Korea fired what appear to be about 10 short-range ballistic missiles off its east coast. South Korea's military said in a statement that the suspected missiles were fired from the Sunan area near its capital, Pyongyang. South Korea is sharing North Korean missile-related information with US and Japanese officials, it added in the statement. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said North Korea had launched a ballistic missile that apparently landed outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. The launch came after North Korea failed on Monday at its attempt to put a second spy satellite into orbit when a newly developed rocket engine exploded in flight. After the failure, leader Kim Jong-un pledged never to give up space reconnaissance projects. And President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, arrived in Beijing on Wednesday on a state visit. Sheikh Mohammed is paying a state visit to China from 29th of May to 31st of May at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. During the visit, he is also attending the opening ceremony of the 10th Ministerial Conference of the China-Arab States Cooperation Forum. Sheikh Mohammed visited China 5 times after he became the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, namely in August 2009, March 2012, December 2015, July 2019 and February 2022. And moving on, Mexico presidential front-runner Claudia Sheinbaum ended her electoral campaign on Wednesday. The former Mexico City mayor, Sheinbaum, closed a campaign in the capital's Zocalo Square alongside her party's mayoral candidate, Clara Brugada. Sheinbaum vowed to keep the path of outgoing President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador and praised him for his efforts to reduce poverty and violence. Mexico will hold its largest election ever, with more than 20,000 positions up for grabs and almost 100 million Mexicans eligible to vote. In addition to the presidency, voters will fill both chambers of Congress, the mayor of the capital, Mexico City, 8 governorships, local congresses, and thousands of other positions. Voting was also held in South Africa after the country voted in the most pivotal election since the racist system of apartheid ended in 1994. Opinion polls suggest that the African National Congress loses its majority for the first time in 30 years. In the 2019 general election, the ruling ANC got 57.5% of the vote. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more on this.
Voting concluded in South Africa's general election with few incidences of irregularities reported. The Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF, expressed concern about voter roll machines failing in certain voting stations, leading to the use of a physical voter's roll. Officials of the South African Electoral Commission indicate that voter turnout may match or surpass the 66% seen in the 2019 election. Many voters at polling stations cited high unemployment, crime, frequent power blackouts, and corruption in the ANC as reasons for supporting opposition parties, though some were wary of change. Support for the ruling ANC has waned over the years due to these issues. As vote counting continues, South Africans eagerly await the final result that will dictate their future. If the ruling ANC falls short of 50%, it will need to make deals with smaller parties to govern. Analysts suggest this could lead to uncharted and potentially turbulent waters for the young democracy, which has been dominated by a single party until now. Complete election results are expected no later than the 2nd of June. Isaac Lukando in Johannesburg, reporting for DD India.
And people in Madagascar voted in the country's parliamentary elections on Wednesday, in which the ruling party hopes to retain its majority. The president of the Indian Ocean Island state, Andry Rajoelina, was re-elected late last year in elections with a low voter turnout and boycotted by the opposition. Rajoelina's ruling Tanori Malagasy Vanova party is hoping to secure a majority in these elections as well. Last year's election period has been marred by weeks of protests by opposition party leaders and their supporters. Rajoelina himself ascended to power in a 2009 coup, prompting an exodus of foreign investors from the country. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. A rare moment at the front line when a Ukrainian soldier found comfort in drawing about conflict. In his comics, the soldier illustrates daily life in the trenches on the border with Russia, fellow soldiers' fears and dreams. One of his recent drawings shows a Ukrainian soldier sitting at the Black Sea beach facing terror. Russian said the image represented his vision of Ukraine's victory in the conflict. Driven by his determination to set a record, Nepali Sherpa Dawa climbed the Mount Everest 3 times in 8 days. Dawa, who works as a guide with 7 summit treks, stood atop the world's tallest mountain. He completed the feat with the aid of supplemental oxygen. About 7,000 climbers have scaled the peak, many more than once. With phones and cameras in hand, New Yorkers hoped for a second chance to snap a picture of the Manhattan sunset. Cloudy skies amuses hundreds that lined up on bridges and sidewalks for a yearly phenomena when the sun lines up with a Manhattan street grid. China will send 2 young giant pandas to Washington, the National Zoo, months after the zoo returned 3 of the bears amid heightened tensions between the 2 global superpowers. Beijing presented 2 giant pandas as gifts to the U.S. in 1972 after President Richard Nixon's historic Cold War visit to the country. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Nature's fury continues as Iceland volcano billows smoke and spews lava. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, at a meeting of United Nations on Gaza conflict, Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, said Israel has a right to defend itself against Hamas, and it must do more to protect Palestinian civilians in Gaza and should remove all barriers to the flow of aid.
As we have said before, Israel has a right to defend itself against Hamas, but Israel also has obligations to protect civilians. The fact that Hamas's leaders and fighters hide among civilians does not lessen the requirement for Israel to conduct its operations in accordance with international humanitarian law. Israel must do more to protect innocent Palestinians in Gaza. We also have emphasized that Israel must connect its military operations to a political strategy that can ensure the lasting defeat of Hamas, the release of all the hostages, and a better future for the Palestinian people. The continued pattern of significant civilian harm resulting from incidents like Sunday's airstrikes undermines Israel's strategic goals in Gaza.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Israel to come up with a post-war plan for Gaza and warned that the absence of it could trigger lawlessness, chaos, and a comeback by Hamas in the enclave.
And I think this underscores the imperative of having a plan for the day after, because in the absence of a plan for the day after, there won't be a day after. And this is where we need to go. And we need to get as quickly as possible a plan for the day after that does not leave Israel responsible for Gaza, which it says it does not want to be. But if it is, it will simply have an enduring insurgency on its hands for as far as one can see into the future, or not.
While U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Prague for a NATO foreign ministers meeting, it comes amid ongoing concerns in the alliance about funding for Ukraine, particularly ahead of the upcoming U.S. election, in which Republican candidate Donald Trump has signaled the U.S. will be expecting Europe to do more heavy lifting on military support if he wins his bid to retake the White House. DD India correspondent Trent Murray reports for more.
Well, the foreign ministers of all 32 NATO allied countries are meeting in the Czech capital Prague for a two-day summit, and we are watching several key areas where we expect discussions to be dominated by. The first, of course, is Ukraine. There are several things happening on that front. First and foremost, funding. We know that trying to garner funding for Ukraine from Western allies, particularly the United States, has proved difficult. And so we do expect Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, to continue to make that call to NATO allies to try and find $100 billion to give to Ukraine over the next 5 years. But very short on detail of who would pay what and when. But nevertheless, it will be a discussion point. The second point is whether Western weapons could be used for targets inside of Russia. We know this is a really contentious one. In fact, just here in Berlin in the past 48 hours, French President Emmanuel Macron said that in his view, Western weapons could be used on military sites inside of Russia if those sites were being used to target cities and towns in Ukraine. He even came armed with a map to try and back up his justification. Again, we expect that to be discussed. The future leadership of NATO also up for debate. We know Jens Stoltenberg is planning to leave the organisation's leadership role very shortly. Some suggestions that Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte could be the new leader, but he does have some competition from other parts of the alliance. And let's not, of course, forget the situation in Gaza. We know Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan will be there. The situation in Israel-Gaza, not normally one NATO involves itself too much in, but given some of Foreign Minister Fidan's counterparts will be there, and given Turkey's strong stance against Israel's bombardment of the Strip, it would not be a surprise if he used the meeting to speak to the likes of Germany, the UK and France and others who are continuing to supply Israel with weapons. What we should say that this is a informal setting. We don't expect any major announcements, but nevertheless there is a lot to discuss, all leading up to what will be a much more major summit, a NATO leaders summit in Washington DC come July. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
And as some Western politicians urges a green light for Ukraine to strike targets inside Russia with Western weapons, Moscow says this is fraught with consequences. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called on the countries of the Global South not to participate in the CIS conference on Ukraine on June 15th through 16th. In the meantime, Moscow launched a swarm of drones at 3 Ukrainian regions overnight, damaging energy infrastructure. Dasha Chernyshova has more from Moscow. Take a look.
The Kremlin reminded on Wednesday that if Russia is struck with Western weapons, that will escalate the conflict. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned of serious consequences and said Moscow was already provoked to create a buffer zone in the Kharkiv direction, as Russia's Belgorod region has been constantly shelled. In the meantime, Russian Ministry of Defense said it made more advances on the Kharkiv direction and hit a warehouse of unmanned boats, aviation equipment, a few warehouses in Ukraine, as well as an assembly shop for drones. And its naval forces destroyed 2 Ukrainian sea drones in the northwest part of the Black Sea as they were heading towards Crimea. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the conflict in Ukraine is getting a global projection, and urged the countries not to succumb to the US pressure and also not to participate in the peace conference on Ukraine that is due to be held in Switzerland next month. He said this conference's goal was not to consider the settlement of the conflict in Ukraine, but rather to work out an unacceptable ultimatum to Russia. In the meantime, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said Wednesday that Belarus's involvement in Russia's tactical nuclear weapons drills does not violate the provisions of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Dasha Cherneshova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
All right, US President Joe Biden began a new push in Philadelphia on Wednesday to court black voters as he attacked his Republican opponent. Biden was accompanied by Vice President Kamala Harris for a campaign rally in Philadelphia. Biden told a cheering crowd at Doordarshan College, "We're gonna make Donald Trump a loser again." Black voters have historically turned out for Biden and Democrats and were a key reason to beat Trump in 2020, but polls show they could be less supportive of him this year as the pair face each other again on the 5th of November. Biden ran through a list of this policy achievements, including removing lead pipes, a diverse administration, the first black women Supreme Court justice, and pardons for people sentenced for marijuana possession.
I promise to put racial equality at the center of everything I do, because I vowed I would have an administration that looked like America. Because you voted, we're invested more than ever in the black families and communities. A promise made and a promise kept. All progress, all freedom, all opportunities at risk. Trump is trying to make the country forget just how dark and unsettling things were when he was president. But we'll never forget. They're trying to erase black history. We're going to write black history because it's American history. It's American history.
On the other hand, the UK's parliament has also been dissolved ahead of the country's general election. DD India's Ollie Barrett reports for more from London.
By law, Parliament has to be dissolved 25 working days before a general election, and this time around that is the 30th of May. Now, Parliament was prorogued towards the end of last week. What that means is effectively legislation going through the House of Commons ended at the end of last week, but MPs have continued in their posts, wrapping up any of their business. The dissolution of Parliament marks the point at which MPs stop being MPs. They cease to be in that position. Between now and the election, if they want to be re-elected as an MP, they are simply a candidate for that position like any other candidate. What it does mean, though, is that for the dozens of MPs not standing for re-election to their seats at this general election, they have stopped their jobs. They have ended being an MP for good. Government ministers remain in their posts as government ministers, but they do so also no longer as an MP. And what it means is that those MPs who do want to be re-elected start crisscrossing the country. Many of them have been doing so already, but it really marks a new phase in the campaign where no one is an MP. Anyone who wants to take up a seat in Westminster beyond July the 4th is a candidate for an election. As I say, the election campaign has really been well underway since Rishi Sunak called the vote for July the 4th, with political leaders moving around all over the country, making their case to the electorate, with key themes already emerging around the economy, around healthcare, around immigration, and around defence and security. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Well, the jury is set to enter a second day of deliberations in Donald Trump's hush money trial. It wrestled with a verdict for more than 4.5 hours on Wednesday. Mitch McCann reports for more.
Judge Mushan spoke to jurors for over an hour on Wednesday as he guided them on how to deliberate in this case. He spoke about definitions of words like intent and reasonable doubt. The jury then debated for 4.5 hours before the day ended. There was one particular moment of note during deliberations when jurors asked that they be read back certain information they had already received. The jurors sent two notes. One requested to rehear the judge's jury instructions, and another asked for them to be read back some testimony from two witnesses, Michael Cohen and David Pecker. Any rereading of instructions and testimony will happen in the coming hours. Donald Trump faces 34 charges of falsifying business documents and attempts to cover up hush money payments to the porn star Stormy Daniels. Trump denies being behind the scheme or having any part of it. Mitch McCann in New York reporting for DD India.
And now some weather updates. North India sizzles under a severe heat wave. Such conditions very likely to prevail in most parts of Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, many parts of Uttar Pradesh, East Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, some parts of West Madhya Pradesh, isolated pockets over Bihar, Jharkhand and Odisha. Heat wave conditions in isolated pockets over Jammu and Kashmir as well as Ladakh, Vidarbha, Chhattisgarh. Warm night conditions likely to prevail in isolated pockets over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, Jharkhand and Odisha. IMD has also issued an orange alert for the same. And on the other hand, after a harsh and eventful summer, Kerala is all set for the southwest monsoon today, 2 days ahead of its normal onset. Southwest monsoon usually sets in over Kerala around 1st of June and progresses northward in surges covering the entire country around 15th of July. The Indian Meteorological Department on Wednesday announced that the southwest monsoon will arrive in Kerala in the next 24 hours. Also around the world, strong storms with damaging winds and hail continues to pummel Texas. Parked American airplanes get blown off position by strong winds at Texas airport as storms continue to grip the region. Storms produced hail, rain and destructive winds, including gusts as high as 153 kilometers per hour in Dallas, Fort Worth and surrounding areas. Weather authorities predict extreme weather to persist in central Texas. Also, the floods have rattled agricultural markets as they disrupted harvesting crops in Brazil. Flood-battered farmers wade through lost harvest farms in southern Brazil as heavy flood destroyed the fertility of crops. However, the record-breaking floods intensified by climate change have started to recede after displacing 500,000 people and killing more than 160. The full extent of the losses is still coming into focus, especially in rural areas where farmers produce much of Brazil's rice, wheat and dairy. Also, nature's fury, a stream of lava continued to flow throughout night from an Iceland volcano which erupted on Wednesday. Iceland has marked its 5th eruption since December and the most powerful one in the last 3 years. The lava fountain reaches 50 meters high and the length of the fissure around 3.4 kilometers. Authority warns of risk of renewed volcanic activity in that area just south of the capital Reykjavik as studies showed magma accumulated underground. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. As the campaigning for the 7th and the final phase of India's general elections draws to a close today, hundreds of people witnessed a colourful drone show organised by the BJP on Wednesday night. The magnificent sky show drew attention of many. As the temperature rises, the incidence of forest fire increases in the different forest areas in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri. Incidents of forest fire in the areas in Forest Division of J&K have been on the rise this summer season as soaring temperatures continue to grip the region. Authorities say the heat wave over the plains of Jammu and Kashmir likely to continue till the 31st of May. Artists showcased a vision of a developed India while preserving its rich heritage during the Hamar Kashi Hamar Vikas program. This cultural event, held in the historic city of Varanasi, blended traditional and contemporary artistic expressions to highlight the balance between progress and preservation. A 10-foot-long crocodile who was seen crawling out of a canal and wandered around near Naroda Ganga Ghat on Wednesday gets rescued by the Forest Department and released into the water in Uttar Pradesh. And still to come on DD India News Hour. For a rare disease, Chilean mother raised $3.5 million from government support for son's treatment. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, a Chilean mother met with President Gabriel Boric after achieving a goal to raise $3.5 million to treat her son and get government support for rare illnesses. The son of Camila Gomez was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in 2023. DMD is a progressive life-limiting condition. It causes all the muscles in the body to weaken gradually. The Ministry of Health said the government would support Gomez with a waiver to pay for the taxes levying the donations, adding they would promote a rare illness law and have reached an agreement with the pharmacy industry to treat spinal muscular atrophy. While you're watching DD India News, our time now for some sports news. Grandmaster Praggnanandhaa enjoyed a memorable Wednesday as he registered his first ever victory over Magnus Carlsen in the third round of the ongoing Norway Chess 2024 tournament. Praggnanandhaa overtook Carlsen. The 18-year-old Indian Grandmaster took the sole lead in the open section of the Open standings. And Spanish club Barcelona have appointed former German national team and Bayern Munich manager Hansi Flick as their new head coach on a 2-year contract on Wednesday. Flick, who has not managed the club since being sacked by Germany in September 2023, will be tasked with reviving Barcelona's fortunes after the Catalan side failed to win any trophies this season under Xavi Hernandez, who was dismissed on Friday. The German filling Xavi's shoes faces a tough challenge ahead with fixing Barca's on-field struggles amid turmoil of the pitch, including deepening financial problems and a refereeing scandal that could drag on for years. And Banksy's private artwork went public in Toronto as part of the Art of Banksy exhibit. The exhibit features over 160 Banksy pieces that normally live in the private collection of people from around the world. The exhibition features famous works including Flower Thrower and his rare Mona Lisa, which is expected to be withdrawn from public viewing later this year. Banksy, who keeps his identity hidden, has earned worldwide acclaim for his witty, subversive street art, with his works fetching millions of dollars. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.